What is up, guys? It is Lucas Da Silva here, and we are in Elite Eight season. If you haven't checked it out already, go check out the podcast with Jason, the full rundown. I got a lot of exciting interviews to come. Some will be on site at Elite Eight, where they have given me a live microphone once again. Whether that's a good
Uh,
decision or not is a separate discussion. But I am very excited to be joined by one of my personal favorite guys I've met through Elite Eight, Coach Porter with Team Thunder. Coach, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you, Lucas? Thanks again for having me on. Feel like you're a great ambassador for the sport, great ambassador for the event as well. Obviously, top notch commentating and all that stuff. So, really excited to be on here today and really excited to see you in about, I think, 11 days now.
Yeah,
If
12 or 11 days.
Yeah.
It's not too
So,
long.
yeah.
I appreciate the kind words. I will admit it's nice to hear you and Ziola and the guys putting me over. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little warm inside. But we are not here to self-aggrandize. We are here to talk about what is, in my opinion, the premier event in the country, duels wise, for high school wrestling. It is Elite Eight. So, Coach, before we get fully into that, tell us more about Team Thunder for those who might not know about Team Thunder.
Yeah, so Team Thunder started about 6 years ago, right before going on into COVID. I was just 18, 19 years old, working about 50, 55 hours a week, making double time and overtime. Um, my brother used to wrestle, but stopped wrestling for a little bit. And I got a message on Facebook from one of my buddies or acquaintances, I'd say, but he messaged me, and his son wanted to get his name out there to put some dual teams together, and then basically asked me to help. And I told him, I said, I do a lot of stuff on the outside, going in, but I'd love to help out here and there if I can, maybe get out to a couple places. But then once COVID started hitting and taking opportunities away from kids, I just felt like, why not start something? Even if it takes time, right? We all have those growing pains when you're coaching a sport, you're building a program. You're going to have those down years. But what I should tell those people is, don't quit on those because you never know what kind of cream of the crop is going to come at the end of the road with kids. And you can find them anywhere. Wrestling is one of the biggest sports in the United States. And there's a lot of talent out here right now, especially coming in next
Absolutely.
weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't know how similar our introductions to coaching were. I did not know how young you kind of got involved with Thunder. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I work at South Portland High School, my alma mater. I coach basketball and baseball too. The one thing people, you know, I'm really, really, really busy. And, right
Seems
now,
like it.
yeah, right now, I'm the type of person that wants to be at the best. And I feel that Cliff and Minions and all these guys, all the teams across the board, Carnage, POWA, Dynasty, Stellar Trained, Cormier team's going to be going in hot this year. Black Mambas, good friends with Coach Beats and Coach Watson out of Carnage. I want to compete against the best, and I want my kids to compete against the best. And, sometimes losing to better teams, at the end of the day in some events make you better, make your kids better, make your wrestlers better. Um, I'm not one of those that will go to another event that's local, just to get a trophy. It's not for me. I want our kids to earn it. I want our families to earn it. And of course, I want to earn it too, right? So that's where you see me where I'm at. And Elite Eight is the state championship of high school wrestling duels. You're not going to find
That's
a
a
better
very that's a
atmosphere.
really good way to put it.
You're not going.
That's a
I've
really
coached.
good
Listen, I've
comparison.
coached in some state championship basketball games against some rival, uh, Portland Bulldogs, crosstown rival. Played them twice in the state championship game over the last several years, and it's just a bang on rivalry. And I think Elite Eight, when you get all these teams together, it's all the marbles. And day two, anything can happen, and all this stuff, and you never know who's healthy, who's not. You got to make sure your kids are physically and mentally into the whole weekend. It's a gut check. Like, I've had kids out here, and we'll get into that about Thunder's history of Elite Eight. I've had kids out here that have lost their first match, then go on and win the rest of them. Or I've had kids that have taken a ton of lumps, but they've just faced dudes, right? So it's just all about the draws. And I think, this is where you want to be at, for your kids and your families. This is absolutely where you have to be at least once,
Oh,
for
for
your
sure.
kids in high
You
school.
know, you make a good point. I remember, I believe it was the year before last. Me and Mike Mal, we did a conversation
That was my
before the
first
duel,
year. Yep.
and I said there were no cupcakes. I think that's the big thing about Elite Eight for me is you go to Super 32, you go to Fargo, any event you go to, there's going to be these local kids that, hey, God bless them, that they're going to test themselves against the best of the best, and that's great, but they might not be up to par. You come
Right.
to Elite Eight, it is 12 teams that are top to bottom dogs. Most of them will be ranked in the country.
Yeah.
And it's, hey, duel one, you might be running into a guy like a Lorenzo Norman. About two, who knows who you're hitting. You might run into a Max Spiess, and hey, that's day one
Yeah.
in pool play. It's a
Oh,
really incredible event for these guys.
yeah.
So, and speaking of those guys, why don't we go into, your crew at Thunder is always one of the more, no pun intended, explosive teams every year, a super competitive and fun team to watch. Kind of talk about your squad over these past couple of years, coach.
Yeah, so my first year, and again, I thank Shane Chittum too. He's a great ambassador for this event, and has done a lot for Minions and all that stuff and Compound, with Cliff. So he's the one that kind of cycled me in here, and I was coming off of a really, really, really good NHSCA dual team. Even though they took fifth, I think that was kind of the last year that NHSCA kind of was steeping up to the top. Like, Ziola was there. He was on a different team. I can't remember which team, but I remember Ziola being there and stuff like that. And there was some kids at some weights. So I had about three. So I had a bunch of kids. I had Nick O'Neill, who's, he's done everything for this team and this group,
Stud,
this program.
stud.
Absolute stud, at UNC right now. He had a really tough morning to wake up to, that first day. Actually, that you brought that up. He had Bo Bassett and Cooper Hilton, and
Oi,
he was
oi.
so excited for those matches, so excited. The kid was like, "Coach, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait." All this and that, and then things didn't work out the way he wanted it to, but it's all about how you rebound. And he came through, won the rest of his way. I believe on that weekend. Couple other guys I had. His brother Matt, who was an eighth grader, pretty impressive. The O'Neills, they do everything the right way, with competition. They don't back down. They're a lot like me. They don't duck. So kudos to them. Even though Matt isn't with us this year, but all love to those guys. Jaden Robinson, who I had from that team, his dad Vasil, he's like my assistant coach, and I think Vasil thinks I'm a lot older than I am because he texted me on Father's Day, "Happy Father's Day," and I'm like, "Coach, I'm not a father," and he's like, but you do so much for these
That's
boys
funny.
and everything like that." So him, Jaden, Darius Marines was on there, and I actually landed, and going back to my first year, if I looked at it again, I would have rebuilt that whole team from scratch. I would have had a lot of the same kids on it, but I would have made a couple tweaks, couple changes here and there. I landed probably the two best 107 when they were going into the new weights, probably 1 and 2. A 1-2 punch of Ryan Burton going to Virginia Tech and Colhan Lindemeyer going to, he's at Stanford right now.
Yeah.
And the way those two just were there that weekend, wrestling with each other. But then they wrestled the next week in the Super 32 finals, right?
Yeah, I
So
remember
that's
that.
why I
That
tell
that
my
was kind
guys,
of
like,
cool.
being a part of Team Thunder, it's a different atmosphere, it's a different vibe. Like, I want my kids towing the lines against each other because you got to earn your spots one way or the other. My second year was interesting. It was interesting. But my first year, we took fourth. So we were kind of still looking for that signature win. But my second year, we had a lot of kids that were like right in a row ranked, right?
Yeah,
And
y'all were tough through that. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
and some unfortunate things happened before the event, with some lineup changes. I'm not going to get into that. But I was basically down two kids. And I remember like going into it, like we were on the ropes with Beast of the East, Stellar Train, all the teams in the top pool, like one match different, it swings our way. So we were really close to winning that pool. Unfortunately, the second when we lost those first couple duels in the first day, unfortunately we got a loaded power team
yeah.
coming in on day two. Coach Urenda and I joke all the time about getting a matchup, and for the record, I still haven't beaten Power, and neither have I beaten Carnage or Dynasty. Even though Ziola still texts me like 5 times a year at Elite Eight, oh, you're gonna win the whole thing. It's your year. No, we're not.
But Viola does that because every year he tells me, "Man, I don't know. We might be top 6, and I want to smack him." I'm like, bro, if you don't get
You know what he
that,
is? You want to know what he is?
what?
He's a sandbagger. He doesn't
Yeah,
show
oh,
his
he
whole
absolutely
hand
is.
until it's all there. He's one of those old school coaches. That's why I love him, because I'm old school too. And we, I, he and me, we show our hands to each other. I don't know what he does on the outside. We go from point A to point B, but he always says to me, texted me last week, "It's your year, bro. Go get it done." I'm like, dude, I haven't even beaten Carnage yet. I haven't beaten Trenton. I haven't beaten Urenda. I haven't even
But
beaten you.
but I mean, we can mention this. I mean, and I've spoke very candidly to you over the past couple of weeks. This year, I would make the argument your team, and not to put any extra pressure that's not needed, but you guys do look primed to make a run. Deep top to bottom, no real spots that I look at a guy as a weakness
Yeah.
per se. Like, there's no liabilities that I look at on your roster outside looking in as, oh, that could be an issue. 15 weights, you guys look deep. I would go as far as to say this looks to be your best team to date. Is there any, on your end, is there any feeling of, you know what, I haven't beaten these guys yet, but damn it, this might be my year or
Yeah,
our
I
year for
mean,
that
I
matter?
always look at that. I mean, I'm a competitor, right? Eventually, I'm not going to want to keep losing to these guys, even though they're my friends and I love to mess with them all the time. Um, I don't want to keep taking losses to those guys. I
Yeah.
want it to be like a competitive rivalry where it's back and forth. Da, 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 da. But this year, I'm going to tell you one thing about this year. And I said this to you the other night. I don't know who my best wrestler is. I really, truly, like, I was sitting here the other day. All these coaches, they ask you. I don't know who mine is this year. I have 15 dudes. So this year I went a little different. All right. So my first year, we had a very successful year. Second year, we kind of took a down page in my book, but, still good to be there and all that stuff. Right. But this year,
Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, his down year is still making the Elite Eight bracket and winning in that bracket, but
all right.
whatever. That's his down year.
All right.
Let's just keep that clear to the
So,
folks at home.
okay. So, no, anyways, and I had some of these kids from last year's team on this year's team, but I had 3 guys outgrew the weight. Matt O'Neill, who I mentioned earlier, was one of them. But this year, going into it, I was like, you know what? I need 15 dudes whose parents are going to hold them to a standard to train. So I got like through my roster, right? Thal Silva. His dad runs Silverback in Cali. Okay. There's like Toscano, Zinkin, who you saw that was on there. A Slickian's going to do his thing to fill that void. But Toscano's there. Trying to think of who else. All the Buchanan kids are there, okay? Paulie Amato, Dragon RTC. Tony Roby, the Virginia Tech head coach. You know, and all these kids can go down and train. I'm going to tell you one thing that was really, really, really inspiring this year for this team. So we went to, a couple guys went to Fargo, and a couple didn't, you know, get what they wished for by the end of, you know, the end of the tournament, right? So a lot of guys are pressing, and I told them, I just said, look, you got to go get better. You got to get better. You got to toe it on the line. Just go get better.
Yeah.
So Sonny Amato was very vocal to the whole team about having a couple guys go to his Dragon RTC and train. So Jesse Grajada, who's also a junior, and there were some colleges that were bumping into those two down there that weekend. And they were just training and scrapping for 10 days. 10 days. That's what they did for 10 days. Jesse went to Jersey for the first time. It was a great experience. You had hammers in that room. You had hammers at this event in that room. Training for the event. And I think, yeah, Killian Coluccio was there too. Our 116 pounder. Yeah. He was rolling around with John McGinty. So all these kids are really good friends. And what they do from me, I always have them in a team text. There's never a day where they're not going to hear my voice. Some of them get sick of it sometimes, but I don't really care.
But, you know, I think that's important, though, especially for these national teams that maybe don't see each other week to week. I think that's huge.
And I also make them without me. I don't want to be in this. I'm a teacher. I'm 25 as it is. I also make them get on Snapchat, throw their little group in, whether they want to talk some mess about me, talk some mess about some, you know, just funny things. They want to send funny stuff, get some laughs, do whatever. Okay. We have meetings once or twice a month. That's what we try to do. Video call meetings once or twice a month. I talk to the kids almost regularly. There's a ton to keep track to, but we're all on the same page. So I didn't really we don't really reinvent the wheel on communication. We kind of keep everything open arms. Like I said, the ways I've been doing it the last couple of years, you're seeing a growth. So we're just hoping that this year's team, I'm just hoping that I got 15 dudes and 15 bodies that are just ready to scrap. And I think, you know, throwing that at teams, it could be kind of tricky because you never know. I mean, there's no breaks. Even though if you're favored in a match, you still got to wrestle it. So I really like this team's attitude. They're really, really, really focused, and they are a funny group. They're a great group of kids, and I cannot wait to go down there next week and spend some time with them. I've been really looking forward to it.
That's great. I mean, so we'll start wrapping up here. Let me ask one last major question. You know, you talked about all these ranked kids you have and the guys that we might know. Let me ask you this, for those at home, or maybe even these, you know, high-level college coaches, who's a guy that you think walking in, they might be a little under the radar, they might not have the same press clippings, but by the end of Elite Eight, you think they might have earned them some NIL money, so to speak. Who's that guy for you?
So to me, so I keep it very simple. We have 3 juniors that are getting recruited right now. Sonny Amato, who's already released his top 4, been on a couple visits. Jesse Grajada has been on a couple visits. I don't know if he's released his list publicly or not, but he's been on a couple visits. But the other guy, it's Killian Coluccio. And to me, Killian Coluccio is a go-getter. And absolutely nails. In videos and tapes I've watched, he's going to have a fairly tough weight with some ranked guys. And he, in my opinion, is a little bit disrespected sometimes on the rankings. He's beaten kids,
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
plenty of kids in front of him. You look him up at the end of this call for people that don't know him, you'll see who I'm talking about. But he has a really, really, really big chance if he gets his wins and knocks off some people. Because there's some people that are, I'm sure, starting to call now, and they're kind of trying to wait and see. But he has a little lion tattoo, I believe, on his hip. That's just who he is as a kid. He's just never going to stop coming at you, whether he's down by 4, whether he's up by 4, whether he's up 10-0. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does, and all these kids. I mean, some of my younger guys, Isai Fernandez is going to be a problem in the near future. Paul Ruiz, California state finalist. Oh, and mind you, the one thing that's cool about this team, I go back to them being together and wrestling against each other and all that stuff. We had the California state finalists at 113 pounds on this team at back-to-back weights. Paul Ruiz grew a little bit this summer, and he's up at 129s right now. And, his weight is loaded. His weight's nails. So him and Henry Aslickian, they're going to really have to work together to slow things down. Because to me, we're going to be all right in some rows. To me, it's just keeping the kids on focus and not letting them lose sight of the main goal, one thing at a time. We're not overthinking of who we're going to have. It's just wrestling. And it's a fight with rules, and you got 6 minutes, settle it there. That's all it is.
Or
And I think there's going to be a lot of very close rules. Like I told you, I don't know if I can get the 1 seed based off of my past results, but I like to think that other people think that we're coming here to play this year. So we're just going to have to wrestle and see what happens. I like this group. I like them a lot. I like the way they are, the way their minds are right now. They're loose, but they're not cocky. They're just straightforward, and they're only focused about the team. And that's it. Because also it's kind of cool because you got 8 California guys on this team, so you're probably going to get a matchup with DC. And then you got 4 New Jersey guys who are from New Jersey, and they're not on commission. So it's gonna be really fascinating to see how this team does when they have a chance to get one up on their friends.
that'll be interesting.
So it's gonna be.
I'll admit, the duel I really want to see out of you guys is you and Carnage, because it seems like you and Carnage have a friendly rivalry of sorts.
I love
building.
I love Trenton Watson.
And what I love about the duels is they get to that level of intensity where outside looking in, if you don't know any better, you think it's gonna get chippy, and you think, oh, these guys must not like each other. But then you look after the fact, and everyone's dapping up and hugging. So, it's great.
I'm gonna tell you a story. So I'm gonna kind of embarrass myself. I hope Trent listens to this. But NHSCA duels the year before I had O'Neill and all them on the team and the whole Elite Eight crew, I took like a silver pool team down there just for matches. Silver pool team. Hoping we can make it to Monday, but I don't really care, right? So we won, and we made it to Monday. We drew Carnage, and I was like, all right, we don't have a chance. So, we just got to scrap in some matches. So we scrapped in a couple matches. And then it got ugly. It got really ugly from the start to the end. And I joked with him. I said to him, I was like, thanks for being a good friend. You gave me 6 points. So he had like a banged up 220 and just gave me the forfeit. But that right there, like that match right there, that duel right there, kind of made me realize, like, yeah, I either need to get more of a nucleus and just push harder, or I need to stop doing this, because having it to be that every time, it's just money going down the tube, especially if you're going down to Virginia Beach. But
Yeah.
back to that duel though, and then after my first year at Elite Eight, we were wrestling for third and fourth. I think, yeah, I can't remember what happened with our team, but we were both kind of banged up-ish. So we were kind of like seeing who was going to wrestle who, see who was going to wrestle who. Some guys, didn't want to go out there. But I lost to him by 2. And he texted me and he goes, "What the heck?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm so surprised we beat you." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." So basically, yeah, it's friendly. There's never a bad thing I can say about the guy. Um, so it's gonna be great. And I hope, if it's not me, I hope he's there. That's my mindset. That's his mindset. So if it's not me, it's him. And we'll let the rest of the chips play out. I mean, Power's. I don't care what you say about Power; they're always going to be there. Yorenda's never going to let that ship burn.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
Dynasty's Dynasty. You got Ziola running the show. But he's. I wonder if he's texting me while we were on this. I don't know if he can see this live, but. Uh, but anyways, yeah. So you got your teams, Minions. Minions is a good group. I mean, Sean does a great job getting those kids ready to wrestle. The one thing I told him last year in our close duel is, he got his kids ready to wrestle at 10 in the morning against probably, I don't know where we were seated last year, maybe 6th. Yeah. So they gave us a scare, and we had to work for it. We had everything we had to do, and we came out with a hard fought W. But Chance Marsteller too, I haven't even beaten him. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that Team Thunder has to do before they get in that conversation. But I like to think with our roster now, Lucas, that people are viewing us a little differently, and that's just due to the hard work of the kids and the parents, all across the board, past and present. It's really, I said to my kids, hopefully, it's our third time. We'll see what happens, and I've been in touch with some alumni across everywhere. I mean, I think Nick O'Neill's reached out to a couple of the kids he's friends with on our team. Al Capone Veazey, absolute stud. He was coached by Jerian Beats at his high school in Ponderosa.
Yeah.
So these guys that have graduated and have gone off to college, you can see that they really still care about me. I still care about them, and they still care about the team. So it's really good to hear from other kids about our hard work and our roster. So it's refreshing, but we have work to do.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for taking this little bit of time with me, boss. Super excited to see you and Thunder as a whole. Any parting shots before we head off?
I just want to give kudos to Cliff, to Shane, to Compound Gear Team, to Lucas, to all the coaches that are in the event. This is a 6-month grind, and I know it's, we all do a lot away from our families. It takes time. And when you commit to this, you got to be all in from day one.
Yes, sir.
And once, Cliff gives you the invite or Shane gives you the invite, they give you the go ahead, they say you're in, you got to start that day. Or, I mean, sometimes you get lucky, but I really think this year's field, and I hope we're helping it, is deeper than a lot of other Elite Eights. But one thing I will say, is the freestyle one a few years ago where Dynasty and Carnage were in the finals. That one was insane.
Yeah, that year was nuts.
So yeah, I really can't wait to see everybody. in about a week. I know my kids are excited. They're anxious. They got their flights and their hotels all paid up, ready to go. They just got to stay healthy, and we'll all see each other in a week. But I just want to see the pools and the seatings and all that stuff. Figure out all our routes, and then go from there.
Yes, sir. Well,
So,
thank you for taking the time, man.
yeah.
I'll see you in a week.
Appreciate you, Lucas. Have a good one.
You too.